Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Greg Bassey, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. And today we have one of my favorite people in Salisbury. It's always an honor to be around her, Andrea Berstler. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Now, you run our library.
I do. I have the best job. I just love it.
Do you really love it?
I do. I absolutely love my job.
Just the other day, I was downtown and trying to get a place to park in the big parking lot, which is going to become a building here at some point. And there must have been 40 moms and kids and dads all getting out of cars, taking up parking spaces that I should be occupying. And they were headed into the library. And there was a vibe there and a feeling. I mean, it felt community. And I don't know what the event is that they have where kids read and all that. We can talk about that. But it was just like the most positive thing ever. And I remember being one of the people that was in favor of moving the library out of downtown. And I was like, another thing I was just so wrong about.
Well, you know, I have a great staff, and they've come up with some really super programs for this summer. We have had record-setting crowds at summer reading events. We bring in, you know, jugglers and magicians and people who just, it's something for the kids to come and do and come into the library and get a really good vibe, like you're saying, about the library, so that they're not thinking, oh, I got to go to the library and read a book, but I get to go to the library. This is so cool. But we've been even setting records at our normal programs, like our baby story times, which we call our baby lap sits. And what's really cool to see is that it's not just the moms that are bringing the babies out now, but we get a lot of dads. We have a whole story time. It's almost all dads.
Yeah.
And they really want to be engaged with their kids. They really want to start them reading young. It's the message we've been pushing out there for the last 4 years. And I'm just real excited to see that it's gaining traction and people are taking us up on our, you know, encouragement and our challenge to read to your kids young, read to them often, you know, get them into books early and have that be a part of their lives.
Yeah, when you're a dad, you don't know what to do with your kids.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you realize quickly that if you take them to the library, someone's going to give you a medal.
Oh, yes, we love how it makes you Father of the Year just walking through the door.
Yeah.
But it's great because the fathers then get to network and they get to see who the other dads are.
Right.
It almost becomes a play date.
Right.
But it's free. It's educational. So, you know, when they go home and there's a mom there and the mom says, what'd you do with the kids today? Oh, I took them to the library. Well, there's just not a better place to go. It's not like I took them to the ice cream parlor and gave them ice cream for breakfast. No, we went to the library. This is cool.
Yeah.
But it's an environment that we've created, and my staff has worked very hard to create, that makes it a really positive place all the time.
Well, how great that you've created that environment. I mean, it's, you know, I always resented, as a kid I got it, but I always resented when they did the old library, the kids were in the basement, which is where kids belong. And then they built the new library, like the whole north side was for kids, and you know the adults are jammed in over on this other side. And I used to think the adults should have more room than the kids, but now I get it. Now I completely understand.
Yeah. What's funny is actually the adults have more floor space, but there's more books.
Okay.
And the books are bigger. Right. You know, we can get 10 kids books in where they have 2 adult books. But the activity on the children's side is just constant and upbeat, and you know, we get 150 kids who show up for a program every time we have one of the special summer reading programs.
Right.
So it's the staff, it's the collection they've built, it's the people they bring in, but mostly it's their approach, which is just, you know, we love having the kids come in. It's great.
It was a great vibe.
Good. Thank you.
Now there's way more going on. I was just reading in my favorite newspaper, the Salisbury Independent, last week, that you had a successful spring year for the homework program.
We did. It was a wonderful program. Our friends underwrote it for us. And what we wanted to do was, when you and I were kids and we would go to school and we would come home, you would sit at the kitchen table and you would do your homework after school. Mom would give you a snack, or, you know, and that was a real positive, encouraging piece in your education. And a lot of people had that experience. But times have changed and families have changed, and that kind of experience doesn't exist in a lot of homes anymore. So what we wanted to do was recreate it at the library. And we were finding that kids were coming in and they didn't have the supplies. They needed a color printout. They didn't have a color printer. They didn't have paper. They needed glue. They needed construction paper. They needed scissors. And none of these things were necessarily available at home for all kinds of reasons. Or they needed a place to work. And home was just a little too crowded and a little too busy. And there were a lot of distractions. So we carved out a section of we moved our job search center. We carved out a section of the floor, not very, very many square feet at all. And we took a part-time job that we had in our circulation department and moved it over there. And we hired a wonderful woman named Tracy to run this. And within several weeks, we were having 8, 10, 12 kids a night show up to do homework.
Wow.
And it wasn't just the kids, it was their parents. And the parents were coming in and they were learning how to teach this new Common Core college and career readiness curriculum because Tracy was helping them. And we had ESL parents come in who couldn't help their kids with English homework. And they were learning alongside their children.
Wow.
That was really cool. That was probably the icing on the cake.
And the photo we had in the paper was Tracy with the students, and you can tell there's rapport and
Absolutely,
appreciation
yes.
there. There was just no doubt about it.
Yeah, she's dynamic. She loves her work. She loves the kids. When they come in, they know that they're important, that they matter to her, that she wants to see them succeed. But they also know that this is space for homework. There's no video games. There's no cell phones. This is to work. And they get down and they do their work. And a lot of these kids have seen extraordinary grade improvement over the course of a couple of weeks or months because they've actually had time to just do homework.
Right. The impact that these librarians can have on people is overwhelming. It really is.
It really is. We have a video piece that'll be coming out probably about 2 or 3 weeks. It's part of the video package we showed at the literacy breakfast last spring about a young man who came in, single mom, she's going to nursing school, he's trying to do his homework. It's a struggle you know how it is with kids. They don't want to do their homework, and it's a struggle between the two of them. He wants to, but no kid really wants to do homework. She's trying to get through nursing school so she can improve her life. And so she brings him to the Homework Help Center, and he goes from getting I's and D's and incompletes to getting 6 A's in just a couple of weeks.
That's amazing.
And it just, you talk about getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
And now she's being able to finish her nursing school. She has that time while he's working in Homework Help to do what she needs to do as well. So it's homework for both of them.
Yeah.
And that's who we created this space for, and it's working. So we're going to go forward with the next year. We'll be starting the week after Labor Day. That's when everybody really gets into school. And putting information in all of the schools this year, cards, business cards, and also bigger rack cards, the bookmark kind, the kids can take home and give to their parents and say, this would be a really good place. I need to do this project, I need construction paper and glue, or I need a board, or I need a printout. We have it all there for free. They just need to show up.
Right. It's changed so much because the main reason we used to go to the library was there'd be some kind of a information void over the weekend, and we'd say, well, we'll go to the library on Monday and look it up.
There you go. There you
now
go.
It's all on your phone. You don't do that anymore.
Exactly.
So there needs to be new reasons to go to the library.
Well, and it's the same basic mission. It's just that we deliver it differently.
Right.
The mission is to provide equal access to information. Now, it used to be that we held the information because there weren't electronic databases, and there wasn't Google, and there wasn't Siri, and but with that becoming very widespread, what's happened is that there are other areas where that information and access to information are still blocked. Some people don't have computers, so we have computers. Some people don't know how to use those resources, so the librarians are there to help them use them wisely and make good choices. It's a shift in how we deliver, but it's still the same mission, equal access to information for everybody.
Now, literacy is a problem in our community. It's something that you're very concerned about. Tell me what's going on with that right now.
Well, we're we're just getting ready to launch. In fact, last week we had our official public launch for Project Read. Project Read is a program that we ran years ago, and then the grant funding for it went away, and we folded it. But it's needed, and we're bringing it back because it's still a need. Project Read is an adult literacy piece. It's designed to help people who struggle with literacy, struggle with reading, struggle with using information to improve those skills, and hopefully then improve their ability to get maybe a better job, to help teach their own children how to read. And so what we're doing is we're taking traditional literacy, which is the ability to read and use the information, and we're adding to it financial literacy and health literacy and family literacy and technology literacy. And we're going to package that into one program. And as people come in, what this will be is a free, confidential, one-on-one tutoring that they will get.
Wow.
We will have volunteer tutors who will come in and we'll train them. And then we'll pair them up with students. And the idea is for them to meet with a student twice a week for between 1 to 2 hours, no more, and work with them on a set curriculum that our expert will have helped them design to help move them from where they are to where they need to be so that they can improve their whole life. The goal is to get them where that they can enroll in Warwick's adult GED program if they don't have their high school diploma, so then they can go on and get additional training. What we found was in talking to Warwick, which is the adult GED programs also housed in our building,
Right.
that people were coming to the class and they were wanting to sign up, and when they did the intake testing for the class, their reading skills were too poor. They couldn't even get them in the high school diploma courses because they couldn't read well enough.
Wow.
And that became a red flag for us because that's a barrier, and our job as a library is to try and remove those. So this came through. We worked with the United Way. They got a national grant, and they're giving us part of that money to get the program started. And the Wacomico Rotary is spearheading this whole thing in the public advocacy piece of it. And then we're providing sort of the infrastructure and the expertise. And we're looking to work with SU and some of their doctoral students. We reached out to UMES, and we may be working with some of their, possibly some of their pharmacology students to help with the health literacy piece. And we've been talking to PRMC also about that because they're working with the United Way on health literacy.
How great that the United Way does that, because you don't think of literacy as a kind of a glamorous topic.
No, it's
not. But
not.
they really do support it with the books and everything. Yeah.
They do. They have their Imagination Library program, which is great. But on top of that, they're really keyed into the fact that literacy is one of those foundational pieces. If you're not literate, you can't go anywhere.
Right.
It really locks you into where you're at. But if you can learn how to read and you learn how to take in that information, all of a sudden lots of doors open up for you. So I'm really pleased that we were able to do this with the United Way. It's a great group, and I'm looking forward to working with them.
Now, when I'm in the library too, I see the Jobs Bank area. A lot of traffic over there,
a lot
of back and forth.
Yeah, we get 50, 60, sometimes 70 people a week who come in, resume help, preparing for interviews, doing the whole post-hiring paperwork thing, which is huge now, and it's all online. And it's confusing, and it takes time.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 people that work in there, and it's a great program, and we continue to do it thanks to the Lower Shore Workforce Alliance, who provides a grant for us to keep that open. So it's sort of the downtown one-stop job market.
Right. I guess they have it out at out by Warwick.
Oh,
there,
yeah, the Tri-County building.
The Tri-County
yes.
building, but
yes.
It's hard to get there, and it's great to have it downtown.
Yeah. When they moved from where they were at over, oh gosh, I don't even know the name of the streets, but where now they now have they now have the Walgreen, but they used to be there. When they moved out of downtown, our business doubled almost overnight. Because there are people that taking mass transit out there is just not an option,
right?
And they don't have a car, and they can walk to where we're at. And we are open on the weekends, which is nice too.
And there's things going on with the business center there.
Oh my goodness, yeah. We are partnering with Kevin Justice. Kevin Justice is running a new program called the M4 Reactor, which is a makerspace program, and he's running summer camps in that space for students who are interested in STEM technology, the STEM technology field. We're also running what's called Zero Robotics, which is really cool. These kids are smart in a scary kind of way. They really are. They're programming satellites for how they would act in zero gravity. And the equations that they write on the board are just, you go in and you think you've stepped into a physics lab. But at the end, they have a competition, and they go up to MIT, and they upload their code to the International Space Station, and the astronauts on the space station run their code in
Wow.
zero gravity to show these kids exactly what happens. 2 years ago was our first year in this program, and the kids from the library won the national championship. And they've gone back ever since, and it's really their thing. And it's so cool to see them get that excited about, I can't get that excited about coding, but they certainly can. So
I remember getting the press release on that and thinking, this is a hoax. There's no way
Mm-hmm.
that this is happening in Salisbury, Maryland. There's kids this smart that have this opportunity.
Yeah. We're very fortunate. We have a young man named Mark DeMora who is a robotics, just knows, he's sort of, we call him our robot genius. He's not really a robot, but he knows everything about robots. And he loves these kids. He loves working with them and seeing them get excited about STEM. And he's helping them do an awful lot of this robotic stuff. He works with the first Lego League robotics team that we sponsor as well. And really is able to talk to them at a level that, you and I would not be able to have that conversation, but he can.
Now, you were in the news, and the Friends of the Library were in the news recently for a reason that maybe you didn't want to be in the news.
Yeah.
Nothing that you did, but a situation you got stuck in. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was sort of like the perfect storm of bad things that happened all together. And, we just didn't really want to see that space lost. The board didn't want to see the space lost.
So for the readers, for the viewers, the county executive needed, in a desperation measure, needed a place to store the new voting machines. So county facility, well, security, good airflow, decided to choose space at the basement of the library.
The basement of the library. And we knew that Kevin Justice was coming into the space. We knew there were things booked. We've got the Young Entrepreneurs Academy booked in there for this coming year. And, the board decided that was something they couldn't agree to, that there had to be sort of a point where they said no. And that was the point where they said no. And we tried, we negotiated. I'm sure the county executive feels he also was trying to negotiate. It's one of those kind of situations. Fortunately, where they finally wound up, which is the old Shin Paint building over on Snow Hill,
Right.
is almost an ideal spot for the whole thing.
Right.
And they're getting it, and they're able to renovate it for under budget, which is even nicer. I feel bad, but we kind of pushed back about it. But at that point, we really felt we didn't have any choice. And I'm hoping that both the county and the library can move on from this and do some really positive things for the community together. The county was really good for us with Project Read, the adult literacy piece. They've given us a little extra money so to help defray some of the costs of that budget.
Resume the Sunday hours.
It resumed the Sunday hours, exactly. And with the shift, the local management board, the Wacomico Partnership for Family and Youth, has been, at the state level, has been given a new charge. And they're focusing on a different demographic and a different community than they have been in the past. And so their after-school programming wasn't going to be funded. They were going to go in a different direction. And 2 of our major programs were funded through that. So when we went to the county for our budget, they were really good and said, yes, these are important programs, and yes, we will fund them. So I have to give them kudos for the good stuff they've been doing. They supporting us with our capital program to try and renovate the downtown space, make it a little more 21st century. But at this point, this was one of the things we just felt like we had to say, no, I'm sorry, we can't accommodate this one.
It was a process, and it was a little bit of a pain in the process, and you were in a spot. But I think it worked out okay.
I think it did too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think in the end, the county, the people of the county really got the best answer they possibly
Right.
could. And in the end, that's kind of what we were all hoping for anyway. So.
And you got to tell your story about what's going on at the library.
We did. And any opportunity I get to talk about the library, Greg, I'm going to take that. I can go all day on this. I really, like I said when we started, I really love my job. And the reason I love it is because my staff and my board and my friends and the new foundation that we've started all have just really jumped onto this message of the library being the heart of the community, being a community center, and being really responsive to what it is the community comes in and says, this is what we need from our library. And we say, okay, how do we make this happen? And they're all on board with that, and that just really makes my job exciting.
I just got a press release the other day that you're doing language training.
We have online, the online training.
Yeah.
We just, actually at the state level, they negotiated a contract with Rosetta Stone, which is
Stone,
almost
right.
unheard of.
Right.
Years ago, Rosetta Stone used to be in libraries, and then they started getting bigger, and so the costs went up and libraries couldn't afford them, and then you had to only use it in the library, which was, you can't do language training if you come into the library.
Hola.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole thing kind of went sideways and people dropped it. We went on to other online language training, but nothing was really quite as good.
Yeah.
So at the state level, they've negotiated a contract with Rosetta Stone, and they've brought it back, and it should be back on the website now. It should have come up in July. And I think there's 12 or 14 languages on there that people can sign in and create an account and go through the Rosetta Stone training for free.
That's exciting.
Oh, it is. It's very cool. We've got all kinds of stuff like that. We have Hoopla. Hoopla is the streaming movies and music. So you can borrow them for 2-3 weeks and download them to your phone, download them to your your tablet, and watch a movie, listen to music, listen to an audiobook. You never have to come to the library. Once you have a card, you're good.
Right.
And those are the kind of innovative things we've been able to do in lieu of sitting behind a desk, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for someone to come ask us a question. That's no longer the model for libraries. We're out in the community. We're doing. We're real excited about the bookmobile. It's going to go back on the road 5 days a week in the fall, which we
Excellent.
haven't been for years. We'll be hitting almost every Title I school in the district now. And believe it or not, that tiny little bus that zips around with all these really neat pictures on it accounts for about 12 to 14% of all the items we circulate.
Wow.
Goes through that tiny little bus. Those ladies are busy, busy, busy. They hit 2 schools a day on average. And we had to drop daycare, so now we have a van. We'll be taking the van out to some of the daycares and leaving books there for them. It's really in demand. And it's amazing. People will come up and say, "What are you going to do when libraries go away?" And I'm like, "Come with me. Let me show you what we're doing
Yeah.
at the library. We're not going anywhere. Not for a long time."
No, when I lived in rural Quantico, the bookmobile would come once a month to my neighborhood, and it was like the ice cream truck coming. The
yeah,
kids really enjoyed it.
They do. They really do. We have hundreds of kids every day who go in and out of that bus from Title I schools all over the county, and it's, for some of them, that's their library experience. They have the school library where they have to read certain things, but this is where they can come and pick whatever they want to read. And I mean, you can remember as a child getting to go pick whatever book you wanted to read is just so empowering.
Yeah.
Because you get to get the books you're going to want to open, and that's the experience we want children to have with literacy, is that they can't wait to get home and finish their book.
Yeah, my son, as a wedding gift, some friends of mine gave me a velvet Elvis as a joke gift. And I hung it up in the garage. And my
Where
son...
every velvet Elvis belongs, right?
It was a beautiful one. I mean, it was a really, it had the tear. I mean, it was beautiful. And the bookmobile came, and my son didn't know what the picture in the garage meant or anything. So he got a biography of Elvis Presley when he was about 10, because he thought he was like George Washington or someone really... really important, but the bookmobile helped create this Elvis
that's
fascination that my son had.
Well, that's, he's an iconic figure. He's significant to the history of the United States. Maybe not in the same way George Washington was, but it's so great to see kids get excited about getting a book,
Yeah.
any book. And I know that that sounds, there are some people who would say, well, they should only read the classics,
Yeah.
We can't get them to the classics, the first thing. You've got to get them to love to read, and you've got to get them to love stories and the concept of story and how stories start and the conflicts and the plot lines and the things that go on in the middle of the story that draw you in. And then when you get to the end of the story and there's a conclusion, whether it's a good conclusion or whether it's maybe not the conclusion you wanted,
Right.
you start to fall in love with the story. One of the things that I'm kind of sad about is I think our generation is losing some of our storytelling. I don't know if it's a social media phenomenon, but I remember as a child growing up listening to grandparents and aunts and uncles and parents tell family stories, and they would pass down these stories across the dinner table. You go to a family reunion and you would hear all these stories.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that we're passing that on to the next generation as strongly as maybe we could. But books are a recording of those stories, and that's one of the really cool things about them is that somebody who maybe 5 generations ago had an idea and had a story that they wanted to share, we can pick up that book and read it, and the story can skip all those generations and pick back up again. And that's really neat.
This winter, you won a I Love Salisbury, I Heart Salisbury award.
I did. I was very pleased with that.
And it was a night where I cried a lot.
Yeah, I remember that, Greg. All happy tears.
But I cried. I did cry for yours because it was so moving. It really was. Tell me about that.
Well, people who know me know that my dad was Navy. Okay, he spent 8 years in the Navy, and they were my young years. And we moved a lot, places I don't even remember living, but I know I've been there. At one point, we lived in Waukegan, which is north of Chicago. So if Chicago's cold, Waukegan's frozen over. And we lived in Virginia Beach for a while, and we lived in Philly for a while. And when my dad got out of the Navy, we still kept moving because that was just, I think it was now our pattern. You get into a habit of doing something. So my husband and I have continued that. And we've done quite a bit of moving, not really far, but just different homes and different places. And we moved here, and there was just something different. And like I said, I love my job. We've connected with people here on a level that we never found anywhere else. And when the I Heart Salisbury Awards came through, and I won, I was really touched because I felt as if I could actually say we were home. And so that was what I was trying to say, in saying thank you for the thing, was that really, you have a hometown, and I will always be a Philly girl, and I will always cheer for my Phillies and my Eagles and my Flyers, no matter how bad they are. But there's a part of me that, while there's a part of me there, this is now home. And I don't see us being anywhere else. And I don't know if it's because of the energy that the community's putting off. I sort of got to come in just as this was all picking up, and I got the benefit of an awful lot of work that an awful lot of people put in years before I ever got here, and I understand that. But I'm still glad to be here. I'm glad to be here now. I'm glad to see all these positive things happen.
Well, I would argue that you've helped lead these positive changes.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm pleased to be able to be involved in them. I really am. And I'm pleased that the library has been able to establish itself as such a bedrock piece of the community, both downtown as well as in the county in general. It's really our goal to be here and to serve. It's the heart of everything we do. And so thank you. I'm just delighted to be here, and I can go on all day about the library. So I'm sure you'll probably run out of tape long before I run out of things to talk about.
She's Andrea Berstler. She's our librarian. What's your official title?
Executive Director of Wicomico Public Libraries.
That's what she is, and we love her, and we appreciate all of her hard work. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Greg.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.